In January, nearly every single employee of the OG e-grocer Bigbasket received an email from their CEO, Hari Menon. And this wasn't your typical start of the year mail.
It was kind of a rallying cry, to ensure all the Big Basket employees were on the same page. They all knew they had to, work much harder going forward.
That's my colleague Nuha Bubere. Just a couple weeks ago, Nuha spoke to multiple employees at the Tata-owned e-grocer, one of whom was Hari Menon himself. You see, this particular email landed in their inboxes at somewhat of a turning point in the Big Basket story.
When they read that email, it was like Hari was kind of promising to the relevant stakeholders that going forward, they had to do much better and that they had to go through certain challenges to ensure like Big Basket could quickly become, say, the number two in quick commerce.
There's a reason the CEO of a company that practically created the online grocery segment here in India would settle for being second best. In many ways, it comes from a place of self awareness because Big Basket is very late to the quick commerce game.
I think even till the end of last year, Big Basket wasn't fully committed to the quick commerce model. They waited a long time. They vehemently believed that quick commerce is a fad, it will go away. Who wants everything delivered to you in 10, 15 minutes? But they were proved wrong and badly.
So while its biggest competitors, Blinkit, Instamart, and Zepto, kept raising the stakes, slashing delivery times down to 10 minutes and less, expanding categories like never before, Big Basket chose to take the high road. It stuck to delivering products in 30 minutes to an hour. Now it has realized that this approach just won't work anymore. It knows it can't just treat quick commerce like a side gig. But up until it reached that point, Hari Menon did have his reasons for steering clear of the whole thing.
They wanted to be in the slotted delivery business because that was the most profitable endeavor for them. And they wanted to continue doing that. When I spoke with Hari, he mentioned, it is not easy to leave a path which has been profitable for you for like a long period and just jump on the bandwagon because you see, everyone talking about it. It's a very tough decision to make. And I think that's what hurt Big Basket in the end. The lack of conviction, to believe that they can move to a different model and still try to be relevant for their customers. That's where they lost their audience.
While Big Basket took its time, Blinkit, Instamart, and Zepto raced ahead and grabbed hold of as much market share as they could. In the end, Big Basket was left with just 9%. But now the Tata board has had enough. Quick commerce isn't just a fad anymore, it is the industry, which is why the pressure is on for Big Basket to make up for lost time and get back on the right track. And that's going to take a whole lot more than just an email. Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Ken. I'm your host Rahel Philippos, and I don't chase the news cycle. Instead, every day of the week, my colleague Snigdha Sharma and I come to you with one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Thursday, the 27th of March. If you open the Big Basket app about 18 months ago, you would see two doors, BB Daily for 2-hour deliveries and BB Now for faster orders. But when the company decided to go all out with quick commerce last year, they knew they would have to change up that strategy.
Hari told me they realized very quickly that consumers do not want to bear that burden when they open the app of choosing which door to open. So they took out the door itself, and then in the transition period, they decided that the default location which the app will open into is the quick commerce mode, which is basically BB Now. And then later on, if you want to choose the slotted delivery option, it is available at the checkout stage. So their consumers can decide, oh, maybe I don't want this item immediately. I can still have it, like say in an hour or two.
Okay, Nuha, that's a full U-turn from Big Basket's original model, right? Why do you think it took its time to kind of get to this point, despite all the success that Swiggy, Instamart, Blinkit, Zepto had already seen in the last few years?
I think it was very difficult to convince the leadership at Bigbasket, and by extension, the Tata leadership as well, to embrace quick commerce completely. Not all the stakeholders were on board that, we have to move to that model. Is it very necessary? They realized very late that they should have embraced it earlier. And I think around the end of last year is when they chose to, go full on into that mode.
Right. It's interesting that you mentioned Tata leadership. I mean, at the end of the day, the Tata brand is known for being obsessed with doing things, quote unquote, the right way. I suppose to some degree that does explain why Big Basket would have been so cautious, right, to enter that 10-minute delivery space. Even though now, of course, it is really bearing the brunt of that decision.
That's very true. When we look at Big Basket, it is it is one company which, when they acquired it earlier, it very much fit into the Tata ecosystem, because Big Basket is the kind of company that works very similar to how a Tata company works. It takes its time, it doesn't rush into things, and the growth is profitable, slow, gradual, and there's a lot of trust there. And that's how Big Basket has always functioned. You cannot change the DNA of a company just because, you see other companies eating away your market share. That's one thing they struggle with, and that's what we see with Big Basket as well. Even Tata's other companies, we have seen Tata New, their very big bet on a super app in India did not work at all, where they wanted to combine all the brands under the Tata umbrella into one platform. And even that was they took a lot of time, very slow in building that as well. And they lost any kind of excitement, any kind of curiosity, anyone even wanting that product in the end. That's what we're seeing happening to Big Basket now as well.
The Tata Group is known for its rigid principles. The quick commerce business, like most things, has its grey areas. Delivery times, for instance. Most platforms tend to fudge them just a little bit, but Big Basket doesn't. For instance, one manager Nuha spoke to told her that at Big Basket, the founders insist on 80% delivery time adherence, while everyone else in the industry runs at 50%. Even seemingly minor details become points of contention, like Yulu bikes. I'm sure you would have seen delivery drivers whizzing around on them. They're very convenient because they don't require a driver's license. But at Big Basket, leadership sees exactly that as a problem. When it comes to 10-minute deliveries, there's some history there as well. You see, Big Basket was burnt before when it tried 90-minute deliveries about 7 years ago. Back then, there weren't really a lot of takers for the service. So naturally, Menon and all the other top execs at Big Basket and Tata weren't entirely sold on 10-minute deliveries either. Hari Menon told Nuha that there wasn't really a sense of urgency to dive headfirst into quick commerce then. It sort of felt like a good to have rather than a can't live without. So Big Basket clung to slotted deliveries. For years, even after it introduced 15 to 30-minute delivery, slotted remained the mainstay. But now that has changed. The company has a very ambitious plan to catch up with the other players in the 10-minute delivery race. And the obvious first step is to expand its dark store infrastructure. They've given themselves a pretty ambitious 6-month timeline to do it.
The current number that they have is around 400. They want to increase that to around 578 dark stores, and also sized larger than the usual dark store. So the usual dark store is around, I think, 2,000 to 2,500 square feet. They want to take it up to 5,000 square feet, and the SKU count also to around 20,000. That's the plan. And they also want to have more dark stores in tier 2, where they already have some bit of an audience, and they want to leverage that as well to add them also to their roster.
Right, but to what end, right, Nuha? I mean, if you're looking at the quick commerce landscape today, each major player has some sort of a role to play, right? So, for instance, Zepto gives you the best prices, or Blinkit has managed to ace both speed and variety. Where does Big Basket hope to fit into all of that?
Looking at their strategy, looking at what they are doing, even on their app, even in their communication, they just keep trying to leverage the Tata ecosystem and just keep trying to ensure people, like, about their customer service. They have been impeccable in that. They always want to stand by the Tata set of values and principles. They don't want to give that away. But in terms of where they stand as compared to competition, they're in a limbo. I don't think um, I can fit it into any box because they themselves are unable to, like, themselves figure it out where they want to be. For a long period, they wanted to be in slotted. Now they are in the quick commerce side of things. Um, do they give products fast? Yes, but do they give it faster than Blinkit? Debatable. Same thing in terms of affordability. But BB has not essentially picked one side on what they want to do. They just want to do things a certain way, which is not exactly how competition does it.
Now, the thing is, thriving in the quick commerce space is an expensive affair. Just look at the two biggest players, Blinkit and Instamart. Their losses have only surged in their bid to outspend each other on speed and discounts. And that makes it even more difficult for Bigbasket to keep up. Now, there's also a push from the top to be faster. Naveen Telyani, the managing director and CEO of Tata Digital, is also involved, and he is going all out to integrate the four Tata brothers, if I may: 1MG, Chrome, Bigbasket, and Tata Click. Don't forget that Bigbasket does have access to a powerhouse ecosystem.
And if you open the app, um, the first thing which you will see is like a lot of the Tata brands are like just advertised at the very beginning. Like you see Chroma, like, they are delivering through the app now, and it's just right there at the beginning. Then you have Starbucks as well now, which provides you beverages um, to your location. I think it is right now delivering in Bangalore at least, because that's where I am currently, like, based out of. So I could see a Starbucks Frappuccino retailing at say 250 rupees, which I could buy, but it would take me 30 minutes still. The plan for them is to reduce that time period, and Starbucks would essentially become one of their food delivery partners, and they would have a kiosk in their dark store itself from where Starbucks can, like, deliver food. But that is for the future. Then they have Tata 1MG. They're essentially bringing all the Tata brands on the platform and advertising and telling people you can have medicines, you can have electronics, you could have premium beverages now on Big Basket.
So they're really leveraging that Tata brand, right, to kind of make up that distance between them and say like an Instamart, a Blinkit, or a Zepto.
Correct. That's true. But the problem arises here is like Tata New try to do the same thing. Even Tata New has Tata New Flash now, which is their quick commerce service. So if you open Tata New Flash app, you will see the same um, brand, same applications there. So Big Basket is also available on Tata New Flash. If you open Big Basket, it will on the Tata New Flash app, it will take you to basically the same Big Basket thing, but it's just integrated on that platform. The thing is that they want to ensure people who come on Big Basket order from there, and people who come on Tata New Flash also know that they can order anything through Big Basket. But it just is like very confusing right now because Tata New Flash is also quick commerce, Big Basket is also quick commerce. So it's like very hazy as to what they really want to do there.
So you're saying that the Tata edge isn't exactly enough?
I think it's the same thing as asking, does Flipkart have an edge just because they did e-commerce delivery for such a long period? The answer is no. When you look at quick commerce, essentially, the name which comes first is Blinkit because first mover advantage. I think that's what helped Flipkart as well, right? When they first got into e-commerce. So just because they have the e-commerce edge, that does not directly translate into them also having a quick commerce edge. It is the same for the Tatas. They have had a great retail presence. Like, look at Chroma, look at Starbucks, look at the amount of stores, offline stores that they have. But does that translate to, like, people actually thinking that they would go on Big Basket and shop a lot? Not necessarily.
Multiple senior executives Nuha spoke to told her that everyone in the Tata group is quite worried. That's what happens when you lose ground in your own core business. Perhaps that also explains why the Tata board had asked Bigbasket to raise external capital on its own. Folks at Bigbasket see it's more of a valuation play, but others are a bit more blunt. At the end of the day, Tata's philosophy is not to invest in perpetually loss making companies.
The problem here is they're not happy with their performance. They know that their performance is lagging. Hari is not happy with his performance. People in Big Basket are feeling the pressure from not just their competitors, but also internally, because they have to answer to the leadership at the Tata consumer, Tata digital level as to why they are lagging behind. And the problem is that they were always so ahead in this space, yet they did not see this coming. That the fact that they learned about it from a competitor has been the biggest problem that they have faced.
Of late, Tata has been tightening its purse strings. In the last fiscal, Tata Sons hit a pause on fresh investments in Tata New, Chroma, Tata Click, and the rest. By then, the holding company had already sunk an estimated 19,000 crore rupees into Tata Digital. So, what does that mean for Bigbasket, especially now that it's going all out with quick commerce? How should it look at winning, especially since it's joining a race that is already well underway?
Best case scenario, I think the only case scenario right now is to maybe market the app in a different way, try to show why they still have it in them to beat the likes of Zepto or Blinkit. Essentially, also if you look at the leadership across, right, Hari and Whipple and people at Big Basket, much experienced, much older regimen of people, even at the Tata digital level. And when we look at, say, Zepto or Blinkit, much younger leadership. That also translates into how decisions are made, which we are seeing, which we also see in the current landscape, how aggressive Adit Palicha or Dipinder, Albinder are in their approach as to how a Big Basket is, as to how a Tata is. So winning essentially right now for Big Basket, I don't even know if that is the word you can use. I think surviving, getting up, getting there is what they should focus on, rather than thinking that there's a strategy, a foolproof, fail-safe strategy that they can fall back on.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of the Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings. A full subscription unlocks daily long-form feature stories, newsletters, and podcast extras. Head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the website. Today's episode was hosted by Rahil Philippos and edited by Rajiv CN.